Welcome everybody to another live stream repair. Sorry for pushing the stream back so much today. It's been pretty busy. You know, my in-laws are in town and we went out to dinner and got them dropped off at the airport, and traffic was just absolutely ridiculous. I thought I had it timed out well, and even giving myself an extra few hours of buffer, it still ended up running way too late. So anyways, let's crack into our HomePods for repair today. First up, we've got Phil's with no power, and then next up is Brad's with, I believe, death farts, and then we'll wrap up with Aaron's that also has no power. So here is Phil's HomePod. We're going to get that power cable disconnected and set their box to the side. And here we have it. So let's go ahead and double check our symptoms here for no power. Got it plugged in, and yes indeed, we've got no response or anything whatsoever. And we've got about 2 watts of power draw at the wall. So that's a little low for me to think that we've got a shorted diode on the amplifier. I'm thinking more likely based on that there's probably a short on the logic board, but let's go ahead and start tearing this down and see what's going on. We're going to start by removing this top plastic cover here. And with our metal spudger tool here, or just in general, when you're prying this top cover off, you don't want to use your tool to actually pry it off. What we're doing is actually cutting through this layer of adhesive. And once you've gone around it enough times, this top cover should just basically pop right off. So, especially with these metal tools, if you just keep going around until that adhesive gives up, then you can avoid cracking it or scratching it in most cases. Just like that. Okay. We got access to the screws for our display, so we'll take that out. And then we're going to use our metal tool to start this, and then slide our plastic one in there to do the actual job. There we go. Let's get this side camera a little closer there. Make you useful. There we go. Get that logic board out. And before we go any further, I'm curious if it is a short on their logic boards, so we're going to go ahead and connect one of our known good logic boards to this, just because we saw a lower than usual power draw for a short on the amplifier here. So we've got our good working logic board. Get that connected. We're just going to set that down and grab our power cable again and see if that works. And lo and behold, look at that. So you know what that means. Most likely our short is somewhere on the amplifier, or sorry, on the logic board here. So let's set the HomePod to the side, and let's get these metal shields pulled off here so we can try to locate where the short is on our logic board. And then we'll get to break out our thermal camera here and see what's going on. Sometimes these shields can be quite difficult to remove. We want to be careful that we don't pry up against any of the components on this board here. There we go. We'll be able to bend that back into shape or just replace it. We've got plenty of those sitting around. Okay, so I'm suspecting based on experience that the short's going to be on this side of this logic board. So we're going to grab some other parts here so that we can power this on and try to locate that short. All right. Make sure nothing's touching anything else. Looks like my internet is having issues again here. Looks like it's maybe stabilizing, but we're just going to keep on with the repair here. Okay, so just wanted to make sure a different display didn't behave differently with this as well. And let's see. Yeah, it's like this area that's pretty hot. But it looks like it might be on the other side. So let's unplug that from power. Let's get this other shield taken off here so we can check it from the other side. There we go. So that was somewhere around this area. Alright, let's power this back on and see if we find anything on either side now. Yep. Interesting. You have to use the switch in the laundry room. Ooh, that is getting hot. Where was that? Ooh. Right here. It's either this one or this one. Okay. Let's get our multimeter here. Aha. So, if we take a closer look at this logic board here, this capacitor right here is getting really hot, and it seems to be shorted out. The one right next to it is totally fine. So I'm betting this is our no power, our source of our no power issue right here. So let's go ahead and pull that capacitor off our board and see if our short goes away. And if so, then we will pull that capacitor off of a parts board and see if this turns on after that. There we go. Yep, that capacitor is shorted. So, parts board. Does our parts board have it? No, it does not. So we've replaced this before. What about this one? This one still has one. So let's pull this capacitor off our good parts board here and measure it really fast so we've got that for a little bit of documentation for future reference. And we just want to make sure before we pull it off that it's still good. Yes, it is. Okay, so what is the value of this capacitor? Let me let it cool down for just a sec here so we get a good reading. Let's switch our multimeter to our capacitance test mode and take a reading of our good capacitor here. $50 microfarads. Oh, I hope I didn't lose that. Oh, it's right here. So our good one is measuring 50 microfarads roundabouts, and our dead one is measuring off the scale. So let's write that down so we can update our website with some more information on this. No power, 50 microfarad logic board cap. All right, let's put our parts board away and put this good capacitor on here and see if this logic board turns on. Oh, I guess we could put some better solder on there so it is a little easier to put on. Wow, this takes a lot of heat. Wow. I'm having a hard time. Okay, so instead of fighting with that, let's see if let's see if the heat will help. There we go. Beautiful. Ooh, hot. Let's cool that off real fast, and we'll see if this logic board turns on. It's still a little hot. Just a few more seconds. All right, I think that did it. Let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, we fixed them. Let's just make sure that actually boots up so that there's no other problems with this logic board.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check the Home app.
Okay. We got their logic board fixed. It now powers on. Let's go ahead and fix these I/O shields and put those back on. What's going on? Oh. Yeah, those sound like raccoons. Mom's gonna go fight the raccoons that are having a fight in the front yard. Wait, let me turn the cameras on first. So we're not quite done with Phil's HomePod here yet. Yeah, we fixed the actual no power issue, but we're gonna go ahead and tear his HomePod all the rest of the way down since we've got it. And we're just gonna double check that it doesn't have any DC offset issues from the amplifier. And we'll also go ahead and just replace the 60 volt 5 amp Schottky barrier diode that loves to also short out and cause the most common no power issue. This does not happen very often where there's a short on the logic board, but it does happen. It's not the most common way these fail. It's that diode on the amplifier. So we've got it. We're going to go ahead and replace it. This ain't going to be perfect, but it'll be functional. All right. And if it doesn't stick on nice, then we're just going to replace it because we don't want this popping off and rattling around. Oh, actually, I think I spoke too soon. There we go. That's not going anywhere. And then this other one can go back on. That one's not going anywhere. All right, we've got a fixed logic board. I'll be sure to update the information on my website to start specifying the values of these capacitors that I replace, because I'm sure not everybody's got spare logic boards sitting around for parts. Anyways, as I was saying earlier, let's go on ahead and continue the rest of the teardown for this HomePod. And get that diode replaced, and we'll check it for any DC offset. Okay. I got a new adapter to try out that electric screwdriver, and I've already lost it. I was looking forward to trying that, but that's okay. There will be plenty of HomePods to try it out on. And my hands certainly can't wait. I'm starting to get some funny calluses on certain parts of my fingers. Oh boy. Okay, time for the pry. All right. There we go. Let's get the logic board out, or sorry, the subwoofer. Alright, woofer check. Voice coil looks happy. Feels nice and smooth. And it smells like a good subwoofer. Oh no. Oh no. Looks like we just added a little complication here. Is this one gonna break too? So that is what the power supply screw normally looks like, and that's what came out. So we're gonna need to get that replaced here. This will be interesting. Do I have my pliers anywhere near? I'm gonna need those. Let's see here. Let me run to the garage real quick. I gotta go grab my vice grips. Alright, I got vice grips. We'll need this to pull the old stud out of the amplifier and replace it with a new one. And to pull this broken screw out. Okay, so now we can see the mess we've made. There's our screw that we need to get out. Our broken screw. We're just going to grab our vice grips here. That coming out? Nope. We need to go tighter. Yeah. They're going at it again. Glad I didn't go outside. Oh. Alright, this one's playing hardball. There we go. So we're just going to pull that whole stud out there. And then let's grab our parts board. And grab ourselves a new stud that we can glue in. Here we go. Here's a stud without a screw broken off in it. Let me find my glue and we'll pop that on. Okay, so we've got a new stud back in there. Now let's fix what we all came here for. Or should I say, we're not actually fixing anything on here. We're just doing a little bit of preventative maintenance to avoid that very common no power issue from occurring. And that is our 60 volt 5 amp Schottky barrier diode right here. which has the date code of 1746K. Pretty well within that, what we suspect is a bad range of these diodes. So, and it looks like it's ran hot a few times. So let's go ahead and replace that even if it's still good. Stick that into our used pile, grab a new one, this is most likely what's going to end up being bad on Aaron's HomePod. Their logic board is probably fine, and they've probably got one of these shorted diodes on there causing their issues. But once in a while, you do get the oddball short on the logic board instead of the amplifier. I was kind of surprised that we were able to catch that just by looking at the power draw. But in general, if there's no power being drawn from the HomePod, then it's probably a blown fuse. If it's a really low power draw, like 1 or 2 watts, that's probably a short on the logic board like we just saw here. And then it's only when you see a power draw of at least 3 watts to anywhere up to 10 watts that is most likely the short on the logic board from the Schottky barrier diode that we're replacing right here. There we go. Looking good. Let's go ahead and test all of their parts together here just to make sure that everything is in working order and that this doesn't have any DC offset issues as well, and then we'll put this back together and move on to the next HomePod. So here's their original power supply. And we'll get a logic cable. We'll grab their logic board again. Connect that up with their display. Connect our subwoofer. Get our multimeter onto that subwoofer. Connect some power cables, and we'll see what we've got. Yeah. All right, everything is working. Had to get a drink. Sorry, folks. Okay, so let's see if this has any DC offset to worry about. And no, we don't. No DC offset to be seen. But we do have no Siri lights. I saw the boot animations, so I know that they work. I wonder if they've just got their Siri lights turned off. We'll go ahead and throw this all back together since we don't see any issues left. No DC offset to be seen. This is a happy HomePod. When I put this back together, I'm going to go ahead and confirm with Phil here that they've got their Siri lights turned off. Just to make sure that there isn't anything else going on with this logic board here. I don't want to go through and factory reset it. Just to find that out for them if that's how they set it up. So, and if it does end up being an issue, then we'll see if they're okay without that Siri light or if there's something else going on here. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. I apologize. Okay. First, our amplifier. Excuse me. Alright, and then we need to grab another screw from our parts here, since that other one just decided to break. Alright, then our retaining rings. Logic cable gasket. Gasket for the subwoofer. Oh, it's going for a ride. Get back up there. And our top basket. grab their logic board and put that in. And then the frame. Excuse me. Ooh. Let's see if we've got Phil's HomePod all fixed up and ready to go. Drum roll, please. Yeah. And the display is working during boot up, so likely what's the reason why we don't see the lights when we trigger Siri on this HomePod is Phil's got that setting turned off, but we'll confirm with them before sending it back.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Alright. But everything else checks out. This HomePod is ready to rock. Let's go ahead and move on to Brad's HomePod here. Update the text on our screen. There we go. And here is Brad's HomePod. So Brad has death farts. Let's go ahead and check the symptoms here. If it's got death farts, that's most likely coming from too much DC voltage being sent to the subwoofer speaker from the amplifier. When that DC voltage reaches 2 to 3 volts, the amplifier triggers a forced restart, which results in that death fart sound and the restarting behavior. The reason why this happens is there are a couple of DC filtering capacitors on the back side of the amplifier that tend to go bad and filter less and less DC over time. If you ignore this issue, it can fry your subwoofer speaker. So you'll want to get this fixed as soon as you start noticing it. What I expect to hear based on that DC voltage being sent to the subwoofer is a rather loud popping sound when we wake it up after plugging it in, and again when we unplug it. It's totally normal and okay, and no sign of failure if it's just popping, going in and out of that standby mode every 10 minutes or so. That's fine and that's normal. But if that popping gets really loud, you can really hear it in the subwoofer speaker, and you've got other bass issues like death farts or constant crackling, that is a sign that it needs to be fixed. So let's listen.
I'm having trouble connecting to the...
And I think I heard it pop actually while I was talking, so let's go ahead and listen for the pop when we unplug it from power. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's got to get fixed. If it's that loud, then you definitely want to do something about it. So let's go ahead and crack this open. And before we do any actual repairs on it, we are going to connect the amplifier to our multimeter there so we can see exactly, well, we just want to confirm actually that we do in fact have DC offset issues going on here, which based on the popping sound and the death farts, I'm almost certain that's what's going on. But we always like to double check. for the pry. Okay, let's see if we can pry this up now. There we go. May as well just get all that out of the way now. And then we can get the subwoofer out. Alright, let's check the woofer. The voice coil looks good. Feels nice and smooth, and it smells fresh. Hey, Doc. Welcome to the chat. Good morning to you. I, however, am ready for bed. Let's get the power supply. Hopefully the screw won't break on us this time. Haven't had that happen to us in a while. But Phil's HomePod earlier just wanted to remind us. Amplifier. Just now going to work. Dang. Working on a Saturday. That's how it be, though. probably have a few HomePods show up tomorrow to get fixed up too, so we'll be working on a Saturday as well. But it's only Friday night right now. Okay. So here we've got our amplifier, which do a quick visual inspection. Yep, everything looks good. Let's power it on and see if we've got too much DC voltage from this amplifier. All right, let's power this up. And how much do we got? Oh boy. We've got 1.2 volts of DC offset and quickly growing. That is far beyond the 50 millivolts that's acceptable. So once that grows past around 2 to 3 volts DC, it would trigger a death fart on us. But we're not going to go ahead and wait around for that to happen. We're going to go ahead and get that fixed. After our repairs, ideally we should see our DC voltage measurement here coming from the amplifier into the subwoofer below 50 millivolts. That'll prevent any damage or death farts from happening. While we're at it, as with all of our repairs, we're going to replace the Schottky barrier diode that's on this amplifier as well. Not because it has anything to do with our death farts from the DC offset issue. It doesn't. But it fails so often and causes no power issues that we just replace it in every HomePod. But first up, our filtering capacitors for that DC voltage. There they are. Let's get them removed. There we go. Let's grab some new capacitors. Jumped into my dead pile. Oh, there it is. That's not it. There it is. Okay. Let's prep this board for our new capacitors with some fresh solder. A little more flux and we'll put our new caps on. Very nice. We'll hit that with one more round of flux in the heat. Make sure they've got a nice quality solid connection onto our board. There we go. Alright, let's replace that diode on the other side of the board that likes to cause our no power issues, and we will give this another test. Put that into the used pile. Grab a new one. All right, let's cool this board off for just a few seconds and we'll see if we've got all of our issues resolved. Okay. Power supply. Have a good one, Doctor. Thanks for dropping by. Have a good day at work. On Saturday. Let's see what we've got. What do we got? All right, we're below 50 millivolts. That's what we like to see. It's probably still a little, warm, so this is going to be higher than usual. But what matters is that it's below 50 millivolts here. And it's holding steady below 50 millivolts. That's what we like to see, and that is a good sign that our death farts will be long gone. Let's put this HomePod back together. Thanks, Tim. I like my sweaters. The wife picked this one for me. She's got good taste. To the best of your knowledge, has anyone dumped firmware for these things yet? Unfortunately, no. I'm not aware of anybody that's done it yet. As soon as I am, though, I'll put that info on my website. And I'll make a video about it, too. Oh, trust me, when somebody does that, you'll definitely hear about it from me. I'll be all over the place shouting about it. Assuming it actually fixes the blinkies. Okay, retaining rings. Oh man, story time. So, right, my in-laws were in town. And, oh, hold on. What's the blinkies problem? The blink, I call the blinkies the flashing volume buttons, and presumably, if somebody can dump good firmware from a HomePod, we've got a way to restore it, because you can just plug these things in via USB from the debug port into a Mac, and Finder sees the HomePod, and you can click restore, but there's no firmware files for you to restore with. So presumably, if somebody is able to dump good firmware from a working HomePod, we can use that to restore bricked ones. But anyways, back to the story. So, we were at Buffalo Wild Wings with the in-laws. Last meal before Dad flew home, and this group of kids just booked it out of the restaurant. And we heard a couple of the waiters like running from behind us shouting at them. And it turns out they dined and dashed. And one of their friends was sitting around while not paying attention, and the waiters stopped him from leaving. And they held him around for a few minutes, and it sounded like they called the cops. But of course, they stopped paying attention to the kid that was stuck hanging around. And he also booked it. And so nobody got held accountable. They almost had him too. If they had just kept eyes on the last kid that couldn't make it the first time around, or stuck him in the back of the restaurant, or anything other than put him at the table closest to the entrance. I don't know what they were thinking there, but they all got away with it. Well, hindsight's 20/20, so I'm sure they'll think of a better process to handle that going forward. Excuse me. Yeah, it was at the Tukwila Buffalo Wild Wings, which I don't know, feels like it's not like the best part of town, but you've got like the malls and businesses and all that. It's totally like that place was pretty much built for giving people the opportunity to do stuff like that. So I'd be surprised if that was the first time anytime recently that's happened to them. Yeah, and it's not the worst thing people could be stealing. If they needed some food, they could have just asked and somebody would have probably been fine with paying for it. But it's almost a victimless crime. It's just, I think, I'm sure the store owner and the employees miss out on a bit of that, and like the tip. I'm sure the waiters and stuff don't, it doesn't really make a difference to them other than the tip. But if it's like a locally owned Buffalo Wild Wings, then that's a bit of it. It was a pretty big group too, so there must have been, at least $100 of food there. It was just, I've never actually seen that happen to me in person before. It was kind of interesting to see firsthand. Yeah, they're definitely not the kind of people I'd love to hang around with. We were joking because they had all left their friend behind to basically stick him with it, and they weren't going to come back for him. And the last kid hanging around psyched all the waiters, and got away with it too, ran out the door. So at first we were joking like, that kid's going to, reevaluate his friend group. But as soon as he ran outside, I was like, nah, they're all going to go and joke about it. Laugh and look back at good times. And it sucks because, they can't, more likely than not, they're not going to be able to find them or figure out who it was. So, they can file a police report, but the police probably aren't going to do much about it. What's strange, is I only caught a glimpse of 2 or 3 of them, and I saw what looked to be a 13 or 14-year-old, maybe even a little younger, and 2 or 3 teens. I didn't notice if there were any adults with them. But the one person that got left behind before they made it out as well was, they looked like they were probably 16, maybe 17. And they were pacing back and forth. They kept texting on their phone and trying to call their friends. And then he faked out the waiters and booked it. Oh yeah, man. Totally agree. I remember walking back from middle school every day. I would take the route that was an extra, 3 or 4 blocks just to avoid the 1 block of bad neighborhood on the way home. Because we all knew there were a bunch of bad kids that lived on that street. And sometimes they would catch me and try to chase me down, but I was too fast for them. I've definitely gotten bullied, but I've never ended up actually getting physical bullying. It was more just like them trying to chase me down and insults in school and that kind of thing. I did get a little lucky not getting involved in any physical violence. But there was definitely plenty of it going around. You are totally right. Teenagers can be like totally evil. And like part of it is they just haven't really learned, or their parents, they screw them up. And like sometimes it's not their fault, but at a point it does become their fault. And those are the people that I worry about the most growing up and running the world. I'm just here to fix HomePods, try to make the world a better place, one pod at a time. Enjoy some Buffalo Wild Wings. I just want to sit around all day and eat ho-hos. I did some bad things as a teen too, but it wasn't, never impacted other people. I always did dumb stuff by myself or with my friends that were pretty much like victimless crimes. But usually we were just too busy dicking around with computers and cars. The extent of our victimless crimes are probably going too fast on an abandoned road and tabletop jumping a car, or setting lawnmowers on fire, or geez, we did all sorts of shenanigans. Never wanted to hurt anyone, though. Hopefully those kids learn that it may not seem like it, but dining and dashing hurts people too. Don't do it. May seem fun at first, but just keep the funny idea in your head. This is not the last HomePod for the night. After this one, we've got Aaron's HomePod, but Aaron's will be the last HomePod for the night. Okay. Let's double check everything is put together right, and we'll move on to the last HomePod. So, when we wake it up, we don't want to hear any significant popping.
I'm having trouble
Beautiful.
connecting to the internet.
And the Siri's got nice bass in her voice still.
I'm having
And our volume buttons light up nice and even. So Brad's HomePod is all cured up and ready to go. And no significant popping, if any, when I unplug it from power either. So this one's really good. Really good to go for sure. Let's get our text on the screen updated here for Aaron's HomePod. And this one has got no power. How many of these do we do a week now? Geez. Every day of this week I think has been like 4 or 5 of them that have showed up. So like let's just say 4 to average it out. So like 4 times 5 is 20. So we're seeing anywhere from 20 to 30 a week if you include Saturdays. Sundays, nothing pretty much ever shows up, which is nice to have a little break once in a while. But I absolutely love doing this nonetheless. And the business is booming. Yeah, 4 to 5 a day. Usually 2 or 3 on Saturdays. Sometimes Saturdays even none show up. It's kind of weird how usually the most of them show up like during the week. Oh, you know what? I think it's because my UPS mailbox address is a business address, and most people are probably shipping these to me as residential. If there's an option to select business or say that this is a business address, then I think they do attempt to deliver on Saturdays usually. I think it also depends on which carrier and speed you use, of course, whether they deliver on Saturdays and Sundays or not, but usually most of them show up during the weekdays, which makes sense. Let's see our symptoms. So yes, indeed, no response. And we've got the 4 watts of power draw from the wall, so most likely a shorted diode on the amplifier based on how much power draw there. Let's crack it open. I don't have any for sale right now, and I probably won't really ever have any for sale, at least for a long time, just because any of the broken ones that I buy, I pretty much take apart and use 4 parts to do more repairs. I don't really like the whole prospect of buying broken ones and flipping them for a profit. I know, the world runs on money, but I just I don't really like it, I'd rather fix people's pods. That said, if you find like a broken one on eBay that is repairable, you are more than welcome to have it shipped directly to my shop, and we will get it fixed up and shipped then from me directly to you. And that'll honestly, more often than not, end up being cheaper than what I would be able to charge if I bought broken ones for flipping. That also said, if there ever comes a time where there is a speaker that is really actually comparable to the HomePod, that actually does better than it, then I would seriously consider selling most of mine and replacing them. In which case, oh boy, there will be a few up. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. I would like to see a new HomePod from Apple that performs at least as well as this, with at least most of the major design flaws fixed, and a way to restore them if they break themselves. That's got to be a requirement. Yeah, I agree with you there, Tim. Just they could make the world. Apple could so easily make the world such a better place if they just embraced repairability. They don't even need to necessarily change the fundamental design of most of their stuff. All we're asking for is for you to let us repair it. Hey Fox, welcome to the chat. I think I did get your emails on the thermal cameras, and that was very useful information. I have been getting away with my thermal camera on my cat phone here. For how infrequently I use it, it gets the job done well. But if I find myself using it more often, then I'll probably end up upgrading to what you were telling me about. And it does exactly what I want it to do. Yeah, I got the cat. Time for the pry. Is that gonna play nice? Oh yeah. Subwoofer check. Voice coil looks good. Feels nice and smooth. Smells nice and fresh. One of my HomePods started popping occasionally, so I'm finally willing to open it up and explore getting an IPSW. I found the CDN that Apple routes its updates through, so I'm going to use my DNS ad blocker to reroute it. Hopefully I'll have a restorable IPSW soon. Ooh, that'll be interesting. If you need any reference for how to connect to a HomePod via USB, you can solder a USB cable to the debug pins on the bottom under the rubber foot. And I've got photos on my website under the common issues section on how to solder a USB cable onto which pins. So if you do think you've got a restorable IPSW and you've got a broken or a bricked HomePod to try it with, you can try it like that. Or you can give it to me and I'll give it a go on one of my bricked ones, so we don't have to worry about breaking one of yours if you've only got working ones. Ah, excellent. Yeah, I vaguely recall that. I think it was a few weeks ago. These past few weeks have been a blur though. Lots of HomePods, lots of other stuff going on. Work has been super busy. The sales guys are keeping me very busy during the daytime. Mood, yeah. All right. Amplifier out. Is there any way you know of that you can even buy new old stock of this version HomePod? Does Walmart still have them? For a week or so there, Walmart had a third-party seller selling brand new ones. Actually, it's still in stock. So if you search on Google, or go to Walmart and search for Apple HomePod, they've got the black ones in stock right now for a whopping $379. That is insane. That is ridiculous. That is a ripoff. I mean, I can't really say that. I mean, this, I would pay, oh boy, that's a lot of money for a speaker. But, oh yeah, that's definitely more than new. You're right on. I think they're scalping them. But they know people will pay the price for an unopened brand new HomePod. It's not like it's gonna be any more or less subject to the same issues as used ones. my first two HomePods that I bought at the end of 2018, I paid retail for from Best Buy. Actually, I only paid for one of them from Best Buy, and I did an in-store pickup for it. And then a week or so later, Best Buy emailed me saying, "Hey, you haven't picked your HomePod up yet. We're gonna cancel the in-store pickup and just ship it to you." And I was like, okay. And so I got two HomePods for the price of one. They ended up shipping me the HomePod after I already picked it up in store, and it was a wonderful Christmas present. And after that, I started buying the broken ones and fixing them up. And that's how I got my hands on a bunch of them on the cheap. Yeah, I bought the first one from Best Buy for myself as like a birthday/Christmas present, and Best Buy said, "Happy New Year. Here's another one." It was great. And I experienced stereo paired for the first time, and that's what got me addicted. I was like, I need more of these. Two of them is so much better than 2 times 1. So my living room, I've got 2 in the front, 2 in the surround, 2 up top, 1 in the back, and then I've got a mini up front and a mini in the back. That is mental. And then in my small office space, it's just a small like standard office room size deal. I've got 2 in the front, 2 in the surround, 2 in the rear, 2 in the top, and then 1 in the middle of the room. And in a small, medium-sized room, that is just, oh. So when I say up top, I've got a couple like on shelving. They're a few inches off. I think they're like 6 to 8 inches away from the wall. I've got one of them actually sitting on an old. Actually, let me show you. So there's that one. It's just on like an old monitor arm. And then the other one is right there, just up on top of a shelf. And then the one that I have in the center of the room sits on this speaker stand. And then the top ones in my living room. My living room and kitchen are like an open floor plan with like a wall separating them right in the middle, but the wall doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling. So it's actually absolutely perfect placement for a HomePod speaker, or 2 of them for that matter. That's what I did. So that way the HomePod actually puts the sound in both the living room and the kitchen, but they're sitting right in the middle of the room on top of the half wall, I should say, really. But the wall itself is like, I think like 10 or so feet up. Yeah, you guys know I'm crazy. Alright. Let's see if this is all fixed up, if there's any other issues that need to be taken care of. I'm not just repairing any Apple product. I'm repairing what most people consider to be Apple's most irreparable product ever. And well, yesterday, if you missed it, we speed run a no power repair, and it only took us 23 minutes flat. From having it fully assembled on the desk to taking it apart, repairing it, and having it fully back together again and powering on. 23 minutes. I'd like to see somebody try and beat that. From a HomePod that's not been opened up before. You can't cheat. That was a fresh, unopened HomePod. Not sure I can do that for every single repair. It was quite exhausting to go that fast. Took a lot of mental capacity out of me. But we did it. You found one in Renton? Oh boy, good luck with the traffic, man. It was horrible today. I can't imagine what's gonna be tomorrow. You want to figure out this firmware stuff? It does have a UART port. It does. It's so the debug pins on the bottom of the HomePod are dual mode. It's got USB and UART. And how it determines which mode it goes into is how much DC voltage you connect it to when you're connecting to it. So let me see if I've got. So actually, this is what the debug connector looks like on the bottom of the HomePod when you peel off the rubber foot on the bottom, right here. So if you just peel this off, it'll expose these pins. And you've got two options. There's a GitHub repo that somebody made with CAD designs for using 3D printing like an adapter with pogo pins that just snaps onto the bottom of the HomePod. What I do, I'm a little cheap and lazy. I don't have access to a 3D printer, and I'm not going to go through all that rigmarole. But I just solder my USB cable directly to these pins. I need to get my hands on one of those, like an Ender or whatever, those couple $100 3D printers. Those are pretty affordable, but I need to get my hands on one because I'm also curious if I can 3D print top cover replacements for people too. It won't obviously look as good as the original, but it'll look better than a cracked one. So, let's see if this powers on. Very nice. Let me get you the GitHub article, or the GitHub link to that UART pinout here. Alright, does this have any DC offset as well? Excellent. No, it doesn't. That is a happy HomePod. Whoever figures out this this firmware stuff and successfully finds a way to restore it so that we can fix the blinking volume buttons, you'll get all the praise from the whole HomePod community. I'll put it on my website too, and of course give you credit for it so you can bask in all the glory. Because whoever figures that out, man, they deserve it. It's been years and nobody's figured it out yet. I figured it would have been relatively simple for some people because it's basically an iPhone. It's got the A8 system on a chip. It's practically an iPhone that runs Apple TV software, or it did for a while. Can't remember if it still does or if they made their own. It's been a little while since I've familiarized myself with the software workings of the HomePods. What's in the HomePod Mini? What do you mean, what is in the HomePod Mini? Oh, as far as like the CPU? I can't recall. I'd have to Google that. Definitely nothing like the A8. They didn't repurpose an old iPhone processor for the Mini. I think they used a newer Apple Watch chip, like the S8 or something like that. I could be totally wrong. I don't even know if the S8 is a thing. I'm blowing smoke. The Mini is also the A8? I have a hard time believing that. If it is, I'm gonna be super surprised. What? No way. Okay, no, that's incorrect. The tiny speaker uses Apple's S5 processor. I think Wikipedia's maybe pulling that from an incorrect source. But the HomePod Mini uses the S5, and the original HomePod uses the A8. No, I was reading a Tech Insider article, and it mentioned the A8 CPU when they were reviewing the HomePod Mini. So I think Wikipedia misconstrued the information and must have said that. Oh, you're reading it wrong? Well, I got no excuse for you. Oh, we got one more screw for the amplifier here. Don't want to forget that. Yeah, they used an Apple Watch chip for the HomePod Mini. I do remember that. People were debating on Reddit whether the S5 CPU was faster than the A8. Excuse me. Uncalled for. You think that is a weird combination? Look up the Motorola Moto 360 smartwatch. I think that thing was released around 2016, if I'm not mistaken. They ended up using. Actually, let me look this up so I'm straight on my facts here. The first generation Motorola 360. So this thing was released. This was the first like Android Wear smartwatch that like really blew up and took off. This thing was released in near the end of 2014, and it uses a TI OMAP 3 CPU, which was it was a really old CPU, and they had just started coming out with the like mobile specific Snapdragon CPUs. Goodness, when was the TI OMAP 3 released? OMAP 3. Dang, even Wikipedia doesn't know. I don't know. Point is, yeah, the first gen Moto 360 used like a wildly old CPU that was like really inefficient, like notoriously inefficient, let alone for putting a super small battery on it and strapping it to your wrist, especially with the Snapdragon 400 being a thing at the time. It was a very strange choice for Motorola, but everybody speculated that they just had a warehouse of them, and it was just the cheapest way for them to do it. Still my favorite Android watch to this day, just from how big that screen was and how close to the edge it went. I got a lot of compliments from that watch. Used it for a few years. Notorious for the back glass cracking just under normal use, because the way they designed it, the watch band would push against the part of the back glass and crack it. Yeah, 2010 sounds right for the TIO Map 3 processor. It was like 2010, 2011, something like that for that specific one. From as early as 2007, I believe it. Yeah, even for how old it was, I personally never had any complaints or problems with its performance or battery life. I still got plenty of battery life from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, with a fast enough charging time to just stick it on the charger if I needed a quick little bump in juice. But I only wore it during the day, and I didn't sleep with it at night just because I was so worried about cracking the back on it like everyone else was. But that was my favorite smartwatch to this day, and I used that one the longest. Ended up buying my then girlfriend, now wife, one of those, and she ended up using it for a few years too, before she moved on to Fitbits. Damn good watches. Thoroughly impressed with what they were able to get away with such an old processor. We are just a few minutes away from finishing this HomePod and being done for the day. After this, we get to go write up some emails letting folks know that their HomePods are all fixed up, and then we'll hit the hay. The final piece. For the final pod. All right, let's see what we've got. Drum roll, please. Yeah. Let's do our usual sanity checks after this boots up. All right.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Oh, I bet you are. And our volume buttons light up nice and even. All right, folks. Tim, thank you so much for dropping by and all the chats. It was good talking with you, man. Good luck on the USB or UART stuff with the HomePod firmware, whichever route you take. Keep in touch with me and I'll help you any way that I can. For the rest of you folks, hope you all enjoyed watching today's live stream repair. We got all 3 HomePods fixed up. Check out my website, nixfix.com, for all of the common issues that we repair here on the channel. It's got steps on how to diagnose and repair those issues, as well as the parts that I use for those repairs. And hope you all enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.